for the next year. Now, how do we make that happen? Is by passing the baton. Right? So, can we jump to the slide, Monica? The next slide. We're going to go to the slides now. Just bear with us. Okay. So this is how we're going to run today's session. We have already covered the importance. You know why it is important to us. You know why it's important to you for your local network. But everyone is different. And you will see on these slides that every slide, every presenter has a different template for their slide. Why that is so is because we are all different. We did not want us to look like the same slide over and over again. We wanted to show our own personality in our slides. And this is Women Council. We come in different, but our end result is our mission statement. Okay, so we'll be covering timeline for handover, network financials, events, what to do. Next slide, please, Monica. Social media platform, where to find the information, password, a good one, what makes a good leader and team building, then best practice and question and answers. So we are going to kick it off now with the first one. My friend Lisa from Massachusetts. Oh, I'm sorry. The passing of the baton. Okay, so you know I had to put some Jamaican into this.
Yes, you had to.
So let's hit this YouTube race and show how we pass the baton Jamaican style. Go ahead. And I'm hoping it will play. Monica, are you able to play it? Okay, just give her a minute. Hold on.
Is it playing for you or no?
No, it's not playing. It's playing for you.
It's loading, it says. But do you see the YouTube screen?
I think you have to stop the current share and restart with the YouTube stream.
Champion this year in the 100 meters.
Let's see.
Okay, go back and see.
Do you all see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and see.
We can see now.
So Great Britain in 6, the United States in 7, Jamaica on the inside in 4. You've got the newly crowned women's 100 meter and 200 meter champions in this race. Final of the women's 4x100 away. Team USA in lane 7, all in blue, third from the right. Nice start for Desiree Bryant of the United States, but Jamaica off to a great start as well. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce has the baton in her hand, trying to keep pace with the United States down the back stretch. Look at her go. The red hair, the yellow top, one leg from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce for Jamaica. Jamaica, USA, and Great Britain all with a chance with one pass to go. Look at Jamaica now. Janelle Smith with a brilliant third run. Hands it over. Look out. Sharika Jackson is just sprinting away. Here comes Tina Asher-Smith for Great Britain. It's Jamaica. Great Britain. It's time for the United States. USA gets bronze, but it's Jamaica's gold. The fourth fastest performance ever. Jamaica win their third world championship in the last 5 years. That was explosive. That was a brilliant run. And the two stars of the show did their job. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in that second leg for Jamaica to get gold. And Dina Asher-Smith brought it home for Great Britain to get the silver. But we knew Dina Asher-Smith would be coming. She was not able to cut into the lead that Jamaica gave Sharika Jackson. And the United States hangs on for third.
Okay. The idea is that you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know how good the next person is. And the only way you're going to know is if that person have confidence that you are passing the baton to them out of the goodness of your heart. I talk about heart all the while because that person could have dropped that baton, right? That person could not provide the information that you need to be successful. So this race, although I talk about Jamaica and passing the baton, and it's a race, it's exactly what we do with Women Council. We make sure that the person who is passing the baton is passing the baton in good faith and not keeping back any information. So I know we have 2024 and 2025 boards here, but I want you to realize that it's not about you. It's about the success of the network and the team. Okay? So the next slide, please, Monica. The other slide will show you the boards who will be receiving the baton. And it's the entire board for 2024 who will be passing to 2025. So you have the board and you have the project teams. The reason why we did this slide is because we want you to realize that it's not just the local network board members who are passing baton. It's also the project teams who need to pass the baton as well to the incoming project team members. The next slide, please. Why is it important? Because we don't want that first slide. And I put it there because it happens. It happens too many times. And this is what we are trying to move away from. Again, it's not your year. It's not your budget. It's the network year, the network budget. And if we embrace the slide that is on the left with the fighting, we will not get anywhere. So we are starting from this clean slate now to embrace the slide on the right. Okay, so where do we start now? And we will hand it over to Lisa so that she can do her information on timeline. Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Well, welcome from, or good morning from Massachusetts. I'm just going to share my slide. It's on. Right? Can everybody see that now? All right, awesome. I'm going to start down here, starting in September, because we're coming into some important dates, and then I'm going to cover the rest of it here. So, and as Charmaine said, that everybody's slides are a little bit different. So it is jam-packed, and hopefully it's not too bad or too congested here, because there's a lot of info here. But just to start off, these dates here are deadlines. Those are the timelines. So when you're planning these dates, or these are when they're due, you want to plan ahead of time. So put on your calendar, whether it's 30 days ahead of time or 2 weeks or a week, put those dates ahead of time so you're not doing it on the 30th when they're due. So these dates are when they're due. So just wanted to point that out. So let's start with September, and then I'm going to go backwards. So September 30th, there's 2 things due on September 30th. There's your 2025 local officer reporting forms, and all of these are clickable. So I'm just going to click, and hopefully it's going to work. It worked before. There we go. These go over to a JOT form. Now, one of the key things, and my local networks do this all the time, make sure you're filling out the correct form, that this says 2025. So these forms, this is for your local network, and then I'll show you with it for the state network. The 2025 local network officer and director reporting form. Who fills this out? Anyone can fill this out. When it's submitted by, you could have your president, just make sure you assign it. So, again, plan that, because whoever is filling this out is going to put in their email and so forth and so on. This says new report or amended report. So this form is also used if you happen to have any changes during the course of the year, that you'll use this same form. Okay. So that is the first thing coming up. If you haven't done that, that is due by the end of September for your local network reporting. This is for your dues change form. So 25, if anybody's having any dues change form, and just to
Is
point
Lisa
out,
frozen?
am I frozen?
No, she's not frozen.
Nope. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think Charmaine is frozen. All right, so on your local dues change form, just to point this out, your dues changes must be voted by your governing board. I think that's going to be covered later, and reported to national along with the minutes of your meeting reflecting the vote. So this obviously doesn't happen on September 30th. So if you are going to do any changes for your dues, make sure you're scheduling that ahead of time. This is when it's due by. Okay. Moving on to October, the local certification. So this is due by October 1st, but you can pull this up. Let's pull this up. Again, your JOT form, or actually I went over to this because it has your local network certification and your state network certification. So I covered both of them here. So you're just going to click on the application, print it out. Don't wait till October 1st. In your calendar, even for, now, September, start filling this out now, or print it out and start handwriting it. Because if you're like me, I'd probably close it out and not save it, but print it out, start filling it in, so you're not doing it all at once. But this is going to take you to both of these certifications. And Charmaine, you're talking about certifications later, correct?
Yes, but you can touch on it. You still have
Okay.
time.
Okay, so your certifications are very important. So the state, for your state certification, 50% of your local networks need to comply for your local certification. So it's important in order for your state to get certified, 50% of the local networks have to be certified. So from Massachusetts, we only have 3 networks. So I think that's like 1 point or whatever. So, but all 3 of ours just, we do very well, hopefully. And we'll do it again this year. So, and it's important and it's something to be proud of. I have on my Zoom background that we've been certified every year. So it's something to look forward to and to strive towards. Orientation, going back to October 1st, orientation of new leadership. This is 2 things. So 4th quarter or no later than March 31st. So this is what you're doing now, orientation or passing of the baton. There's 2 things here. So this is in the 4th quarter. So your new leadership that's already been voted on, you'll have orientation for. And most of the networks or the states, I find, do this in the 4th quarter. However, you have to do it no later than March 31st. All right, so I have 2 dates up here. This is March 31st, no later than March 31st for your orientation, or in the 4th quarter of the previous year. Any questions about that? That makes sense? This is going to tie back to when you should start looking at your elections. I know some of this seems a little, back and forth, but it kind of is. All right, let's go to November. We get questions all the time. So as you know, or hopefully know, the NAR or the National Conference is in Boston. So I look forward to seeing you all in my backyard with my proper Bostonian accent. So that is November 8th through the 10th. The reason why we're pointing this out is your leadership takes over or takes the baton when that is passed the day after the national governance meeting meets. They meet on November 11th. So your leadership role will take place starting November 12th. It's not a calendar year. They changed that. And Paige and Charmaine, you could help me out, a couple of years now. So that will start taking place November 12th. You officially take over. Doesn't mean that the current president, the 2024 president, won't be involved in anything that you plan in December, because that's just kind of, courtesy, finish out the year and kind of co-host or whatever you're doing for the rest of the year. Questions? December 31st is your 2025 network affiliation agreement. That's a must. You have to have that filled out, and this is going to be filled out by your 2025 president. Okay, and this is also part of your certification. So you're certifying that this was done previously as well. I have read the local affiliation and you're signing this. So it's kind of easy coming right to these jot forms there. So that kind of finishes out the year. So let's go back up if any questions on the end of the year coming up. And if Charmaine passes out these slides, these slides go right all to the jot forms if you need it, and you can find them on wcr.org as well. So a few things. January, Happy New Year, starting off the year. Anybody know what that is? Groundhog Day, because in 2025, you're doing it all over again. So the dates really don't change that much. So seems like it's just over and over again. And I suggest just putting these dates, the forms will change, but if you keep the date, that's pretty consistent unless national changes them, but it's pretty consistent. These dates are pretty consistent. So just keep the dates and just look for the new forms coming out. So again, March 31st, you have to have your state orientation no later than March 31st. And this is part of the qualifications of getting certified as well. So it's either you do it the previous year in the fourth quarter or no later than March 31st. And you guys are doing this now, so that's great. This is also the LID, Leadership Identification and Development. This process opens, if anybody has any questions on that, and I think that's being covered later in the program. This is open. This opens up between March 1st and May 31st. You have plenty of time to consider volunteering for something. And then the leadership committee, the LID committee, will then review this later on in the year. But the applications open up between March 1st and March 31st. I did do a link over here that's going to go right to wcr.org. And it's going to go down to, you just have to scroll down, sorry, the qualifications. So you can just go right into here and find out what that's all about and decide to volunteer. Right. Anybody know what this is?
April Fool.
April Fools, right. So if you wake up and you think, why am I doing this? Is this a bad April Fool's joke? It is not. You will find that this is going to be one of the things that you will treasure looking back at it. So it is not an April Fool's joke. I would just embrace it, enjoy it, and have some fun with it. So it's not an April Fool's joke. Other than that, there's nothing else in April, unless I missed something. So please jump in if somebody remembers or thinks of anything. So, all right. So these, as Charmaine mentioned as well, these are our local customs. It doesn't need to be yours. But for the last 2 years in Massachusetts, we've encouraged all of our, and I think you guys do this anyway, we've encouraged all of our networks to have their elections in May, by no later than May. And again, the reason is we kind of take July and August off, so we don't have an official meeting unless we're doing something unofficial. And June is, for us, again, this is just local, June is always a member fun networking event. So May is before we get to the deadline. Remember that deadline of September 30th, where you're reporting your local network. May is it. So we did that this year. So this was the first year that all of our networks had their elections by May, and it worked out really well. Now, keep in mind that this form over here, the 2025 local officer reporting form, doesn't come out right away. So even though you have your elections, I had a couple of, or one network that thought they were, getting ahead of the game and filling out the form. However, remember what I said is make sure that this says 2025. They went ahead, filled out the local network officer and reporting form, but it said 2024, which then just changed their whole 2024 leadership. And then everything changed on the microsite. So please make sure when you're clicking on that, that you have the correct form. So again, this is not a date, a specific date. You just have to know that your leadership, your local leadership is reported by September 30th. But look over here, your state has to be reported by June 1st. So this just makes sense to do it in May. Again, whatever you guys do. When do you guys do? I know you have 100,000 networks in Florida, and I am very envious of that. But when do you guys do your elections? Is it May? Is it June? Is it over the summer?
By June 1st.
By June, yeah. That's by June 1st, because that's when you have to report the state anyway. And the reason is because the state liaison is now voted on, and you have to put that in because they want the names for 360, for network 360. So your state network officer reporting is due by June 1st, not the September 30th where you're local. So those are two specific dates. Just remember and make sure you have the correct forms of which one you're doing. Over back to May here, May 15th, and I think this is going to be covered later as well. Your taxes, your taxes, and I'm assuming the treasurer will take care of this. And I thought I had a link, but I don't. You can just Google, unless everybody has that in your package, but Google the of the postcard that you have to do no later than May 15th. So again, it's a deadline. You could probably do it the 1st of May, but just make sure you have it in by that deadline. July 4th, happy Independence Day. All right, so again, there's in August, there is no set date for this here. But again, this is our local, my Massachusetts, this is where we generally do our planning. So I would suggest start planning for your 2025 event. If you've had your elections, you can include the new leadership, or if you work with your project teams. And this is just to get the first part of 2025 planned, or even the whole year. We tried to do the whole year, but sometimes that's a little difficult. So we at least try to get the first half of the year done, and we start in August. And that way we're not, fumbling around in December trying to figure out what we're going to do in January, February, and March. So we can, kind of take our time, throw some ideas around and so forth. But that's when we start our planning. Same thing for the 2025 budget, because your budget needs to be submitted to your state liaison, state president, and over to national. So start planning this. Again, this is just probably preference. But again, in Massachusetts, that's what we do here. So questions? That's 2024 going into 2025. I put this up for 2025 because, again, basically everything is the same. I left this in Boston because I'm not sure what the dates are for next year. This I put in here on 2025, the legislative meeting. It's different for next year. So I put this in here just as a placeholder. Next year, it's May 31st through June 5th, which is the latest that it's ever been. It's usually the beginning of May or somewhere around Mother's Day. So I put that in there, but everything is the same. Again, put the dates down, but these dates are drop dead deadlines. So when you're putting this down, make sure you put in your calendar 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month ahead of time, 2 months ahead of time to start planning and start looking at those dates so you're not missing it, or if there's any questions and so forth. The only other thing that I did here for timeline is when you do your elections, this particular timeline here, and this was way too much to put into one of those little spots. So I just made another slide here. Again, 90 days before the election, you establish a candidate review team that can review the candidate and information. Minimum of 60 days before the election, send a notice. So if you're having your elections in June, again, you're planning way ahead of time. So it's almost, you have to hit the ground running beginning of the year to start thinking again for the next year. Sometimes it's a little much, but any questions? That's all I had for timeline or Paige or Charmaine. Did I forget anything on my calendar?
So 2020, excuse me, 2025 NAR next is November 12th through the 17th, and it's in Houston.
Ah, cool. Thank you. So keep that in mind through the 17th. So usually the NAR, the governance meeting would be either the 17th or the 18th, and your leadership takes effect the day after. That's late, isn't it, Paige?
Kind
Or is
of.
this year early? Yeah.
Well, the last day of governance meetings is the 17th. So 2026 will take over on the 18th.
18th, yeah. This year, the governance meeting, this says it's November 8th through the 10th, but the governance meeting was November 11th. So
Yeah.
I would just look at that, when next year comes and when the governance meeting is, that's when you're taking over. Your installation is ours. Generally, we do our installations in December. It's basically formalities because we've already taken, the leadership has already taken over in November. So the installation is just kind of a nice event. We always combine it with our holiday celebration.
Yeah. All right, Lisa, thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. Guys, we will have the recordings for you. And I know at the end, we're going to leave some time for question and answer. Now, remember the main timeline that Lisa showed you, it will have some adjustment depending on your state, right? So just look at this, work with this timeline for the important items. But like for Florida, we have our conference in August. All right. So let's jump on the part that I know everyone is excited about, network financials. Catherine, you're up.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited about it because I think this stuff is interesting and fun. So, and my job is to hopefully make you think the same way. Anyway, we are talking about the transition and best practices for the treasurers, and every single position as part of the team is important, and their transition's important. I think in particular that the treasurer is a little more complicated because there's so many pieces, and that's where a lot of people get confused. So the simpler we make it, the better. So already I'm hopeful that since you had your election, your local elections, that you've invited your new treasurer to your governing board meetings immediately after your election to start getting acclimated. Welcome to the team. Start hearing what goes on. And then you should be like starting your training at that point. Important point on that, while inviting them to your governing board, that's a good time. Many of our networks are using professional bookkeeping. So this is an excellent time also for you as the incoming treasurer to pick up the phone, introduce yourself to the new bookkeeper, and coordinate with your treasurer to be on the monthly reconciliation calls. So you get a flavor for what that is like and how that process goes. Because there's a lot to learn, and learning little pieces at a time makes it a lot less overwhelming. So we're going to start the training process right after the elections, basically July. We're going to have the treasurer come to the meetings. We're going to have the new treasurer meet the bookkeeper, be in on those calls. And then also it's a good idea to give them limited access to the accounting software and also your banking, so that they can look around there, see what has to be done. The bookkeeper's a job eliminates a lot of the, I don't know a good word to say, maybe drudge work about bookkeeping. You don't have to be a QuickBooks expert, but you still have to know how to invoice and work your way around the program. And the longer you have and the more time you have to ask questions, the better off you'll be. Also, make sure, sometimes you just think everybody knows everything. Well, everybody doesn't. So make sure the new person has copies of your financial policy, any operating procedures, and any standing rules to get familiar with. Because very shortly, they'll be in the mix of it, doing reimbursements and check requests, and need to be able to you know, we don't expect you to memorize every single thing, but at least know where your references are. Okay. And then monthly workflow charts, very helpful. And if you're wondering what that is, how many people look at the playbook, know what the playbook is? Okay. Please, at a minimum for treasurers, go to the playbook, which is on our Linktree site. And there is a single page for every single position on executive. So, and on your governing board, that tells you month by month what you should be doing. Now, of course, there may be little, I like the previous, at least was saying, and Charmaine, things that are unique to your networks that aren't necessarily on that general timeline, but it also is in a general workflow, a real important tool, and makes it so much easier. Because again, there is so much to do and so much multi-layering. So please make sure you look at that playbook. If you want to, if you have trouble finding it, let me know. I'll be happy to help you out. And a really big piece of this pie, remember, we keep hearing November 11, November 11. That's the transition date. Please, please, as a treasurer, do not disappear. The new treasurer needs all your support and all of your knowledge and all of your information, and be there. You know, you're passing the baton hand to hand. You're not throwing it at them. So keep that visual in mind and keep both hands on either side of the baton, but realize the new person is in charge, and please do everything possible to support and help train them. Okay. And also know, as a new treasurer, you can always reach out to your state treasurer for guidance and answers as well. Okay. So next slide, the transition to the bank for the bank. Here we go. Again, keep in mind, November 11, talk to your bank. Now, ask them what the requirements are for transition. There's a lot of mistaken notions about this. Most banks take just your minutes. Some require SunBiz and your minutes. Some require SunBiz minutes and. Make sure you know. The simplest is the minutes, okay? And it makes the transition easy. So I would recommend, as a best practice, to check with your bank, because what they asked for last year, they may not be asking for this year, or vice versa. They do change. So if it's as simple as your minutes, I'd make your appointment right now for when you get back from National. Because as most of you have dealt with banks know, that everything's kind of in slow motion. So it may take you a week or two to get that appointment, and another week or so to sort it all out. So I'd recommend right now is the month to call the bank, October at the latest, and get those requirements, figure it out, make your appointment. And then before you go in, check your financial policy or standing rules to make sure who are the correct check signers for your network. You want to do this all at one time. You don't want to have to keep going back. And then you'll order the debit cards as necessary. And also, just a little tip, while you're there as the new treasurer, verify what the limits are on those debit cards. Make sure people know. And it also doesn't hurt if you know in December you have a big event coming up and the new treasurer is going to use their new debit card. It's a good idea to let the bank know that you're going to have a lot of expenses coming up, say the second week of December, and they can note the account, because otherwise you appear as a new person with a debit card and all of a sudden you're charging thousands and all of a sudden your card's cut off for suspected fraud. So just to know that can happen, and you can make a preemptive strike, okay? If your bank requires SunBiz, you may have to wait till January if that's the pleasure of your board, or your board may choose to pay the $60 fee and change your people at that point. Okay. If you have any further questions on that detail, let me know. So that covers pretty much the bank. That's your first step. And then your next step, passwords. And boy, does the treasurer need a lot. It's the next slide, Monica. Yes, thank you. The treasurer, you need a whole bunch of passwords to run your life. You need a whole bunch to run your network, but the treasurer probably has the preponderance of them. So make sure immediately access to all accounts and software, your bill highway, your QuickBooks, your bank accounts. If you have a specific treasurer, Gmail, or other email accounts like State still has a Yahoo account, and credit card processing, whatever you use, Square, PayPal, any of those, Eventbrite, make sure that's all switched over. And also, it's a good practice to have verification codes, but I'd also recommend whatever those are set up, they're set up to change to the new treasurer phone number, and just for ease of operations. We all know we're volunteers. We don't necessarily do our volunteer work 9 to 5. We may be working on something at midnight, and the last thing you want is a verification code going to another team member who's asleep. Wakes them up, or they don't see it at all and you can't get your work done. So, and there's going to be another segment on passwords. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And then Monica, if you could put up the know your numbers. Thank you. So know your numbers. This is an excellent time to review all the financials with your new treasurer and incoming board. Okay. You know, at this time of year, it's we have new budgets coming in proposed for 2025, and we need to take a hard look at where we stand, because that budget that you're working on is now in the third quarter, and it may need some tweaking, or things may come to your attention that you're way over budget or way under budget. And here's where a lot of confusion comes in. We're talking about passing the baton on the 11th, but the budget runs January to December. So that's kind of a confusing point to people. But if you get it in your head that the budget belongs to the network, not the treasurer, not the president, and we find ourselves just saying, my budget, well, you might help create it, you may have helped facilitate it, but it's not yours, it belongs to the network. So the important thing is the incoming governing board, president, treasurer, abide by that budget to the end of the year. You just can't willy-nilly go spending like crazy people. That budget is the network's budget, and it's your fiduciary responsibility as a board member to abide by it. And I hope that helps clarify how that's going to work in your head. And to that end, it's a good time to do a cash flow analysis, because we very often focus so much on budget. And as we have here, budget versus actuals, very important to see where we actually stand, but that's not necessarily the same as your cash in the bank, is it? So it's a good time to sit down and do a cash flow analysis. And I went over this with the Florida treasurers last month, and I've developed a form for this, a very easy form on how to do it. So if any of you want to use that form, I'm happy to send it to you. So I know that's been a lot of information. Charmaine, I don't know, do you want Q&A now, or you want to wait till the end?
I want to wait to the end, because I want to make sure that I give all the people who are presenting the time.
Excellent.
All right. So make a note of your question, anything to do with financials, and we will try to cover some of those topics. So we're going to just move right into the events Yes, and I know Shawnee have her slides. I did this, just so you guys know, I did this slide. Because I know they're going to laugh at my slide, but I think it looked pretty well. Shawnee, are you ready?
I'm ready, and that is an adorable slide.
Yeah.
Let me pull up on my drive. Hold on, he said.
Everyone, it's inside joke here, you know, but hey, I'll take it.
Good morning, everyone. Today, so I know that a lot of networks have already started integrating their 2025 team into their meetings and planning and everything, and that is amazing. That was a big goal for, I know, everyone with early elections. Today, we're going to focus on wrapping up our 2024 events calendar and setting our leadership teams up for a strong start in 2025. Whether you're continuing your journey in events or stepping into a new leadership role, this training will guide you through key strategies to finish the year successfully and get ahead of Q1 in 2025. So the first part of this, wrapping up your 2024 events. This is a great chance. As we wrap up our 2024, let's review the remaining events and discuss how teamwork can help ensure a smooth and successful year end. It's a big idea that we all are on the same team, and the nicer we can pass the baton on to the next team or continuing that team, unity is definitely key to making your network a success. So review the 2024 team and the 2025 team should really get together and review those final events, dates, and times. And if you're the 2024 event director stepping down, look and see where you can pull that 2025 team in to kind of help them be part of the last events. Start working on that communication now. As Catherine kind of touched on it during financials, this is a network budget, so you're still on the 2024 budget. That includes installation. Also during this time, it's a great for the 2024 directors to bring in the 2025 event directors to share vendor and key contacts for all the events. We all know that every network has their staple events that are year after year, like golf tournaments and fashion shows. We have those vendor contacts. It's so key to pass that on to the next group to keep that unity and that continuity of your events going forward to being successful. On event day, encourage your team to stay flexible and collaborate. Handle any of the challenges together and support one another through the event. Build on previous successes and use these lessons and wins from earlier in the year to create a solid foundation for these final events. Teamwork. Why teamwork is crucial. Successful events rely on effective collaboration as leaders. Your role is to foster a spirit of teamwork and ensure a smooth transition for our incoming team. Lock in all logistics, make sure every detail is finalized well in advance, and communicate regularly. Keep the lines of communication open and check in on your progress. Focus on delivering a great experience. And the attendee experience is a direct result of how well you work together. I know we keep talking about this a lot, but it is really crucial to communicate with the incoming team to make this event, to make your final events of the year successful. No, come on, go to my next slide. There it goes. Slides are fun. So now let's turn our attention to Q1 in 2025. Planning ahead is key to ensuring a strong start to the year. We'll focus on establishing a clear timeline, setting deadlines, and meeting with project chairs with your team. Part of your milestones for Q1 is finalize event concepts by November 30th. Really, if you could have it before that, that's kind of just a timeline to get you moving and get you started. We want to make sure you're getting your stuff for Q1 ready before the holidays hit in December. By the end of November, all key details for Q1 events should be locked in, including dates, venues, and objectives. Work with your team to make sure major decisions like venue bookings, speaker selections are completed by this deadline. Begin marketing and promotion by early December. Start promoting your events by early December to build awareness and drive attendance. Couple of key action steps: ensure that promotional materials, registration links, and marketing plans are in place by this point. I know you guys probably have some questions a little bit later. We do have a event worksheet that is in your playbook also to kind of guide you through those steps. All logistical details such as vendor confirmations, supplies, and schedules should be finalized at least 2 weeks before each event. You guys want to give yourself a little cushion. We all know things happen and we pivot as leaders. Set internal deadlines for your team to finalize logistics early enough to make last-minute adjustments if needed. Setting and tracking deadlines. Break down milestones. Assign clear, manageable tasks and deadlines to each team member to keep everyone on track. Make sure you have internal checkpoints. Set internal deadlines to ensure critical tasks like vendor bookings or marketing materials are completed on time. Use tools like shared calendar or project management software to track progress. Action steps. Establish regular check-ins, track tasks, and adjust any challenges early. This is where your naming project team chairs would be ideal, and having them gather teams for each event. Try not to if you can, and it's easier to do in larger networks than it is in smaller networks, to not overstress your membership with having someone chair a couple of back-to-back events. Try to spread that around, and that encourages leadership, encourages the members feeling like this is the members knowing and feeling like this is their network. They're going to be proud of it. They're going to want to come to it all. Let's see. To wrap up, finishing 2024 successfully and getting a head start in Q1 2025 comes down to effective teamwork, setting clear timelines, and meeting deadlines. Your leadership is key in guiding your teams through these final steps into a strong new year. Finalize your action steps. Finalize your Q1 plans, set key deadlines, and ensure your teams are regularly meeting with project chairs. The work we do now will set us up for success in 2025. Thank you for your dedication. If anyone has any questions, we're going to have that at the end. Feel free to reach out. Let's finish strong and move into 2025 even stronger. That's all I have.
Thank you, Shawnee. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. So we're just going to move right into the social media aspect of it. I know we're going, really fast and quickly, but because again, we want to have questions at the end. So write your questions down. And can you now go to Norris for the social media section?
Good morning, everyone. Norris Roche, District Vice President of Marion County. Can you hear me?
Yay, Norris.
And can you see the presentation?
No, you're not sharing.
Let's see anything. Let's share my screen again. How about now?
Yeah.
We're not seeing your screen, Norris.
Trying to see if I can share this one.
If not, we could just use the screen. You can just use your talking points and we can use the screen that Monica has. Can that work?
Monica, can you? It's just.
We are having heavy rain in Florida. So we're having technical challenges. All right, go ahead, Norris.
Okay, so as part of the ongoing efforts to enhance our social media presence, transition the social media platforms to the new network. We embark transitioning our social media management. It is crucial to recognize the process of collaboration efforts involving the entire network boards. This transition will ensure smooth handover and maintain a high standards of our online presence. So one of the things, to facilitate and ensure continuity, preparing social media project teams, and a backup team as well. So overseeing the transition process, developing a backup team, engagement the local networks members to promote benefits with the Canva, the Facebook, the Instagram, creating, your monthly calendar, your infographic, making sure that you have your main email, your secondary email if you may, your phone numbers, your usernames and your passwords, who's transferring, who's receiving this information. It is so important to have the admin rights, president-elect, vice president, secretary, editing, who has the right to edit. Make sure that, again, your Twitter and your Instagram's main emails, phone numbers, usernames, passwords are transferred correctly. Creating, the admin rights for the entire network. Remember, we are all together working as a team, not just one person. Verify and update the email addresses and phone numbers associated with each platform is very important. Confirming the details, updating if anything has to be done associated with each platform. Establishing a backup process. In cases you have an emergency, that the team that is working the social media should have a backup in case something happened, they can take over and establish a procedures as well. Next steps, create meetings with your social media project team. It is important to create a project team so help you to discuss the transition plan in assigned task. Update the documentation to ensure that everything is updated with the current information. Keep something in mind always, our social media maintain your professionalisms, your tone, adhere to the organization standards, avoid posting anything that could be considered controversial, inappropriate, and misleading with our mission. By following all this transition, we aim to ensure seamless handover and continued success in our social media endeavors. Please, if you have any questions, we're here to help you. Let's work as a team and let's make our 2025 stronger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Norris. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to get to, and we're getting there. So hold on. We are going to get to where do we find the information we need. I'm going to ask Paige Brewer to go ahead and present for us now. A lot of information, but really good, timely, relevant information that we need, that I need to know where to find what I'm looking for. Go ahead, Paige.
Good morning. Monica, I'm on the main PowerPoint, so you can put that back up. So, where can you find the information? So I'm sure many of you know that we're getting a new website in January. So National is working on that at a feverish pace, but for right now, we have the website that we currently have. Our 2025 team just got back from Network 360, so they have a book that has a lot of the information they need in it. But you can find all the information that you need at WCR.org as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? So a lot of the information you need at the state level is on your Google account, okay? And if you go to your Google Drive and go to share with me, shared with me, you're going to find your network. So you have Daytona, Jacksonville, Palm Beach. So you're going to have your individual network that's there. Now, each of you should be putting together at your local summit/retreat, you should be developing your local network business plan for the upcoming year. Now, you need to make sure that your local business plan, your network business plan, aligns with the national strategic plan, as well as the network model, okay? And that should be in your Network 360 booklet that you had for all the presidents-elect who are going to be presidents in 2025. You got that when you were at 360. So you should be developing that business plan if you have not already started and finishing that up at your local network summit, okay? Including in that will be your job descriptions. So the National has a specific job description for every single job that your governing board has, as well as project teams. Every single position at your local network has a job description and what they are responsible for. Okay. Next slide, please. You also have your playbooks. So each individual position has a playbook. Okay. That you can find on the state link tree. And we keep that updated at the state level so that you guys know exactly what you need to have done in what month. Okay. So you should be signing your affiliation agreement. That should be coming up for your elected officers. You should have that signed and get that turned in. And you should be getting ready to get your local summit scheduled after. Do you guys see that word, after state summit? Why after state summit? Because there's going to be some things that come out at the state summit that you're going to need to go over at your local network summit. Do not schedule your local network summit before the state summit. Okay? So go to your local network playbook, or go to your playbook, and it keeps you on track for the entire year. Next slide, please. So if you go to WCR.org and go under network tools, this is what I was telling you earlier, you'll find your job descriptions, your business plan, your national strategic plan. You'll find your bylaws and your standing rules you should have a copy of at your local network. So let's talk about your bylaws, your standing rules, and your financial policy. All three of these documents go hand in hand. Your bylaws come from National. The only thing in your bylaws that you can change are two things: the name of your network and your dues. That's it. That's the only thing you can change in your bylaws. Okay? I don't care if you don't like a particular clause in it. That's not for you to decide. Bylaws come from national, and bylaws actually have to have approval from the National Association of Realtors to be changed. Did you guys know that? Because we are under the NAR umbrella. So you don't get to make changes to your bylaws other than those two things. If you vote to change the name of your network or if you vote to change your dues amount. Okay? So your standing rules. Your standing rules are the day-to-day rules that your network has. You should be reviewing those every year. Your standing rules cannot contradict your bylaws. Your standing rules cannot limit a member's rights. In other words, you can't put in your standing rules that a member has to be a member for 15 years before they can run for office, because that contradicts what your bylaws state. Okay? You cannot limit a member's rights. We don't have the right to do that. All right? So make sure that whatever is in your standing rules do not contradict what's in your bylaws. We just had a bylaws change at National. Those new bylaws are out. So it's a great time to pull those new bylaws out. You need to download those from National. You need to upload the most up-to-date bylaws onto your local network documents. You need to pull those out with your standing rules, and you need to make sure none of your standing rules are in conflict with your bylaws. If any of your standing rules talk about a secretary, you need a standing rules change. We don't have secretaries anymore. Right? Financial policy. In the state of Florida, we put together a financial policy back in 2022, and the governing board at the state level voted that you had to use that financial policy. If you have not put your financial policy into place, you're in violation of your state standing rules. Get your financial policy in order before the beginning of 2025. Okay? All three of those documents go hand in hand. We did that so that you were not dealing with money issues inside of your standing rules. So next, there you go. Bylaws. They provide the rules of your organization. Again, they're from National. They can be found under the document section on your microsite. They are the only component that can be changed by the network or the dues and your network name. We covered that. They have to be voted on by the general membership, and they still need to go through National to change. Okay, so once you have, and there are rules in the bylaws on how to change the bylaws. Okay. Standing rules are specific to your network. They provide the rules of the organization not already addressed in the bylaws, and the changes are voted on by the governing board. For example, a refund policy for ticketed events. Okay. So we'll go back just a second. So I want to talk about your passwords. That wasn't really on any of the slides, but I need to talk to you guys about passwords. Okay. And handover access. So let me be very clear. Accounts belong to the network. It does not matter who set the account up, whether it is your email, whether it is social media, whatever kind of account it is, the second that you put your network name on it, it belongs to the network. Just like when you screw something into a wall of a house, it becomes a part of the home. And when they move out, when you write your contracts, it's part of the home, right? It's no different with your network. I don't care if you said, if you as the local network president in 2024 set up a new email address for your local network. When you set it up for the network, it became property of the network. So when you leave and you are no longer local network president, your fiduciary to the network becomes to pass on that password, not take that with you because you set it up. It is the property of the network. And we are a network of successful realtors advancing women as business leaders in the industry and in the communities we serve. We develop leaders. We don't set things up to then take our toys and go play somewhere else, right? So in order to further the mission of the network, we have to pass those tools along so that we can continue to develop leaders. So it is imperative that we pass the tools along and pass the baton on so that we can continue to develop those leaders. So with that comes password and access handover. All right. So you need secure documentation to do that. You can do that in your Google Drive, and that's fine. If you have some other secure means, if your network uses Dropbox and you just have one password to pass on so that someone has access to all those passwords, that's fine too. We don't care how you do that, but you have a responsibility to the network, to the council, and to your members, because these things belong to the members, not you as the president, to pass these things on so that the network can continue to function properly. So you should prepare a list of all the accounts, systems, and passwords. Have that and use a password manager for secure handover. Change account credentialing as needed. Update recovery options such as emails and phone numbers. And ensure that all new board members who need access to the password manager have access. Okay? Use strong, unique passwords. Regularly update the credentials and limit the access of the secured information to the authorized personnel that need access to it. Okay? We run into this issue every year where someone doesn't want to hand over the passwords. And remember that photo that Charmaine showed at the beginning where everyone was poking everybody in the eye? That's not who we are, and we need to pass those things along so that we can have a smooth transition. And remember our responsibilities to our network and to our members so that we make this as smooth and as bump-free as possible. We're holding hands the last couple years. Or the last couple months of the year. We're holding hands for a smooth transition.
Thank you, Paige. So the next slide quickly show you your entire governing board and your project team. Now, we did a huge overview here. Remember, for each network or for each state, it will be different. You can add, subtract everything at the bottom, but the top remain the same. The district vice presidents will change depending on how many members you have in your state. That will determine how many district vice presidents you can have. And then your project team, it's what you decide for your local network, what project teams you need to make sure your network is operating at a high level, okay? So with this governing board and project team, I'm going to over now to Kathy, who is going to talk about what makes a good leader and team building for this team. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hello. So your sweet leader over there has asked me to take a 2-hour class that I teach and give it to you in 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you a really quick overview of where to go and would chat with any of you at any point in time to go in depth. But transition, obviously, with the teams, right? By definition, it's changing states. And what I found is that most of our outgoing leaders kind of treat this like babysitting. You hand the baby off to the next person, you walk out the door, and that's it. And I really need you guys to think about this as, you know, almost the transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly. This is going to take time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be complicated or tiring, but it can also be really fulfilling and beautiful and a stepping stone. It just requires serious emotional intelligence. And I know some of you have taken some of that class before, but Your presidents right now, those of you on the screen, have just spent the last 8 or 9 months spent building relationships and reaching some goals with this team. Now imagine as they start continuing that same mission, right? We still, as presidents, have 3 or 4 months to go. Some of you guys are only half in. It's because you've been that most attentive person. And now as we talk to you as presidents, and I'm speaking to president-elects in general, it's almost like you're on your phone and you're not really paying attention to what's going on because you're planning 25 while we're ending 24. And that's where a lot of tension starts to build. And I want you to understand where each person's coming from. You both have to work together. And so what's going to make a good leader? It's going to be, you need to lead like a Sherpa. Can anyone name a Sherpa? Nobody can name a Sherpa. But every single Sherpa can name every single person that they helped get to the top of a mountain. And that's because those Sherpas go ahead of time. They set you up for success. They want to make sure that you guys know where you're going. And then they don't even tell you they did that. And that's how I need you guys to be bringing up your next set of leaders. And President-elects, you'll be bringing up your own team after that, right? You have to celebrate each other's successes. When you come into a room, I would love to say, unless it's a truly formal meeting, nobody should know who's in charge. Nobody should be able to distinguish you from your team as the leader because you are all coming together. You are all the ones that are bringing up the rest of the crew behind you. And then I need to make sure that you're going to listen as incoming leaders. That's the number one thing you can do, and spend time with your team. If you can do those 2 things, truly listen and really figure out who that human is behind you, not the position, the human, it will resolve so many conflicts before they ever begin to happen, because you have to make sure that you are not separating them from who they really are and going into almost a position to where you're giving instruction. This isn't about instruction. Again, it's about leading, and there's a lot of great books for that. And then I'll finally ask, as you look at this huge screen full of all the people on there, some of you have smaller teams, depending on what state you're from on here. Obviously, some of you have larger teams, but do not isolate your expanded team as often as possible. So we at Texas have invited our district vice presidents to come into our meeting on the leadership team, sit in the back, be quiet, or sit, on screen, obviously. We want them to see what's happening without making them feel like they're not a part of the team. These people are part of your team, and nobody ever wants to hear, not you today, or this is between us. The isolation separates you from those you're going to be asking for help from. And I want you to include them in every single thing that you can. Is it always appropriate? Absolutely not. Don't feel bad if a team says we need to discuss this as the leadership team, which is the 6 people. But make sure that you include them at times when you can. And then keep your team conversations in a big text string. That way the next person's learning and the next person's learning. And it doesn't mean they're chiming in if the president and president-elect are having a conversation, or the president events are having conversations, but they're seeing what's happening and they're not feeling excluded, like you 2 are meeting every week for coffee and they're not really included in the next event and don't know what's happening. Try to keep it completely inclusive of your team. There's no backlash when that happens. There's no questioning when that happens. And then again, you can't control how somebody's going to receive you. So quick experiment if you want to turn on your volume and give me an idea of what you think. But I want to describe something to you and I want to hear what you think it is. So if I'm thinking of an object that's round and fiery and golden bubbly surface, and it has shades of yellow and orange and red, occasionally dotted with some dark spots, radiates intense heat and sizzles. Does anyone have any idea what picture's in my head?
The sun.
The sun.
Yeah, it's right. It's a pepperoni pizza. Did I describe it incorrectly? No. But did you receive it incorrectly? So no matter how detailed as a leader I am, I need you to understand my picture, and you as the leader need to make sure they see your picture, because these others that just answered are not incorrect. But when I ask them to go and draw this and they come back with this sun, I can't look at them like they're crazy, right? Where did you even get that from? So make sure you're being received. speak until you are positive they understand, and have them repeat it back to you. And that's where I get into the listening. I want to make sure everybody on here understands you can't control how you're being received. Remember, we're realtors, 99% of us. Most of us got into real estate to not have a boss. So how do you think a new team member is going to take it if you're starting to give some self-serving statements or directions or job descriptions? Because we kind of suck at staying in our own lanes. We went into this profession in order to do everything better than the last guy did, and to take it over, even sometimes from transaction coordinators, we can do it better and faster, et cetera, et cetera. We are all the same mold in that respect, that we know how to run a business. We're running our own business. And now suddenly we're throwing you into a team of 6 and saying, now you need to run the business together and you each need to take your own parts. Think about what you're being asked to do. This will be the greatest learning experience in your career if you can pull it off. If you can really spend the time to pull off sharing. Every one of you is going to do things in a different way. That doesn't, again, make them wrong. So some tools you can use, and I know there's some on the slides that they have. Please venture into some of those. There is no chance that you will get to know your team members too well. I can guarantee you that. Some things that I use all the time. So if you've heard of the 5 love languages, raise your hand. Anyone heard of it? Does every single person know that there's a 5 love languages for the work environment? If you don't know that, please go back and look up. I'm going to drop it in the chat, by the way. Here, I'll do it right now because I typed it out earlier. Make sure you go back and take that assessment. What you're going to find in there is some incredible tools, because in the workplace relationships, you actually can also take subtests of how to motivate with appreciation for your team, how to apply apology language, because we struggle with that, anger assessment quizzes. Those are all involved in there. And the reason they have one for the workplace is because if you know the 5 love languages for romance and family, touch is really not the best thing to be doing in the workplace. So they have a whole different set, a whole different approach to teammates. If you know how to love your teammates and how they like to be appreciated, it will make, again, you as the leader, your life so much easier, because you're not spending time maybe buying things for people who don't receive gifts very well. It's a fact of life that it can simplify everything you're doing. The other one that I really, really focus on, you have taken that test before with me, again, the number 5, Steve Cochran and Jeremy Kubicek. It's an incredible tool. You're not just going to understand the personality of your team, right? We've all done the DICSs. We've all done the drafts and the yellows and the oranges and things. The difference between a lot of those and the 5 voices is that not only do I know what I am, but now I know what you think of me. So you're not just knowing how to approach me. I know what you think of me. And there's a story I tell. It's like storming Normandy. Y'all are coming off the ship. You're going into a big war. And there's a guy that's just been shot, one of your good friends, shot multiple times, laying on the ground, going to die. One of you is going to jump on top of him. And you're going to lay there and you're going to cry and you're going to hold his hand and you're going to sit there with him until he's gone. The other guy's going to run by and say, hey, dude, hold on, I'll be back. Those of you that are sitting with this person on the ground are going to look at that other person as the most uncaring, unwilling, I can make up a lot of words right now, but I won't. That's how you're going to think of the person who ran by. In all reality, the person who ran by is thinking the same thing about the one laying there, that they are laying there wasting their time on this one person that's going to go anyway, when in fact they feel their job is to save everybody else. Going back to the pizza and the sun, is either of them wrong? No. But can you see the feeling you would have for the other if you are one of them? If you are the nurturer, you're going to feel somewhat kind of way about a guardian or a pioneer. And if you are a guardian or a pioneer, you are going to feel some kind of way about a nurturer. And if you understand before you ever start all these meetings who you are dealing with and why they operate that way, you will gravitate to everything you're not rather than gravitating to everything you are. We spend so much time going out and finding people just like us. Oh, you like pizza? I like pizza. Let's go have pizza, right? Kumbaya. When in fact, what we need is everything we're not. That's what we need on our team. Don't shop your friends. Look for those that you wouldn't necessarily even want to go to dinner with. That's my assistant. I don't want to hang out with her. In fact, she's in Florida, as a matter of fact. That's where she lives. She is not a person I would hang out with because we are that different, but I need her so desperately, and vice versa, that we make an incredible team because we can appreciate what the other one does. That's where I want you to spend your time. Look into these tools, look into some of the team building activities that they've given you in the slides, and make sure that you can understand the human before the conflict ever begins. Because as soon as I look at you and I go, oh, this is that thing, you're that pioneer, and I have them on my team, that I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not doing well with your, I don't know, emotional being right now, but I know why. And now we can acknowledge it and say, okay, you do that, I'll do this, and we'll get back together. And again, you're back in that kumbaya stage because you've identified it and you've approached it. You're not sitting back and festering and going through a lot of different feelings about how somebody behaves. So really being able to bring your team together is going to be your job, but understanding your team is going to be a year-long process. Again, getting all of those tools together can only enhance your business. It can only enhance your home life. It can only enhance your women's council experience. I really can highly suggest that you take advantage and work through the process and understand why you're upset before you're upset. That's the best advice I can give for building teams in less than 10 minutes.
Kathy, I could listen to you all day, you know that, you know.
And I could talk all day, you know that.
I know it, but I just want to thank you so much because this is a good way to bring a different voice to the voice here in Florida. They're hearing it from someone else. And for the other states who are here, you're hearing it from someone else. We all have the same problem, the same situation. It's just how we handle this. Okay, so Kathy, we're going to bring you back, I know, because she is our 2025 National Liaison for Florida. So we are super excited. And I just want to welcome you to Florida physically.
Thank
Come
you.
over here. And we know we'll be hearing a lot more from you.
Absolutely. Okay? I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so I only have 2 more slides, then we're going to go quickly into any questions that you guys have. This slide, I put this in because you have to know where you're coming from to know where you're going. These are the networks. I didn't put the names, but these are the networks and their numbers at the end of 2023 and up to August 2024. As a local network, you need to know how many members you have. You need to know how many national affiliates you have so that you are not going against the compliance page, that you're in, make sure that you're in compliance with national requirements. Okay, it's also good to track your numbers to see when more members are signing, more members are coming in versus members are leaving. And we encourage you to do an exit interview. If you look at this track for Florida, it gives you the percentage. And this we gave to our district vice presidents every month to track what is happening in their network. So this is something that we encourage other states to adopt, and we encourage the networks to keep an eye on this. And then I think we are really at the end now, Monica. there is goals. I think Kathy touched on that already, to get together, meet so that we can decide what is our big dream goal and make sure that we take action. Don't just put the goals on, document the goal and don't take action. You need to make sure that you're taking action and coming up with a strategy to achieve your goal. And the final slide I have before question is the checklist. There is a checklist. Next. There's a checklist that is on the national website. We can send you this information. It's just to monitor, passing the baton, just make sure that you cover all areas. There's anything else that you need to add, it's okay. There's nothing here that's written in stone. It is what works best for your network, as long as you're within the guidelines, okay? Now, let's open it for about 10 minutes, question, answer, thought. What do you think? Let me ask you if you think this was very informative. I know a lot of this information we're giving you over and over and over again, but the more you hear this information, something will stick. And I know at the summit, you will hear this again. I know at your local summit, you'll hear this again. But it is important. Something will stick today, it might not stick tomorrow, but then guess what? You know where to find the information, okay? Any questions from you, team? Any thoughts?
Very grateful for everybody's time today. There's a lot of people here that have so much knowledge, and taking the time to share it with us is meaningful and very important. Share all the time, all the things. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Charmaine, for taking the time. It's a nice condensation of everything we need to move forward. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time just to share your knowledge with us.
We appreciate the thoroughness. That's fabulous. We need the details. And if you can share this so we can share with the board members that couldn't attend today sooner than later, that would be appreciated. Thank you again.
Yes, I would say that if you could share the recording as soon as possible. It was really great, and I appreciate everyone, all the speakers that were on today. Great job, great presentations, and I feel better every day. I feel better about stepping into this role, and I really appreciate that. And I know that there's a lot of support for us, and I appreciate that too. Thank you.
I want you to realize that you're not alone going into this journey. I would not get here if I went alone. There were so many women council members, not just in Florida, but across the nation, who helped me to get here. So my biggest job now is to help others, help all of you guys to get to where you're going. So you have a quick call to me, just not on a Friday, even after 5 o'clock, but you know that you can call anyone from our current team for the state to our past presidents, right? They will all answer your call. They will all be there to mentor and to guide you. So don't be afraid, and no question is a crazy question. I have had some that when I call Paige and ask her something, I think I am I'm like, first thing I said, don't you laugh, but I'm going to ask it. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and ask questions. Okay? Any other question? Anything else that you think that we should be doing that we are not doing right now, but you are suggesting? Because we are open for suggestions as well.
You did such a great job covering everything. We don't have anything.
No, this team here, my friends who I call and said, hey, help, you know, and I called one about 10:30 last night. I won't name the person, but I called Kathy maybe 3-4 days ago. And I said, help, I need you here. And she sent back about 5 words. Sure, I am in. Just tell me. This is what we do. We support each other so that you can all be successful. And I want you to do that for those who are coming behind you. Remember, give back to what you were given. And you're given the opportunity to be successful. So I'm going to close out. You know I'm going to close out. Guys, you 2025 team, you're standing now at this door for the new year. And I want you to take some time to think about it and to realize this door opened, but it also closed quickly. By the time you turn around, 2025 will be over. So now, what are you going to do with the time that you're going to serve, right? You have the opportunity to do a fabulous, fantastic, awesome, pick all the words you want, job, but you cannot do it alone. No one lead alone. Remember, your leadership is not just holding a position, right? It's how you make a difference for your network. How are you building on what is there before? And Kathy, good. We're not doing the fights. We're not talking about negativity that happened the year before. We are going forward. And I have a whole lot of smiley, nice pills. If you call me, I'll ship them to you. You need to just pull back. Pull back and breathe. Sometimes counting 10 don't work. So do 20. I've had to do 50. Do that so that you can show others that you can live with kindness, you can lead with grace, and the members who you're standing in front of every month talking about Women Council and the why and the values and the mission statement, make sure your action is similar to what you're preaching, right? So let us use today to clean the slate of what happened yesterday, and let us open the door for positivity, for success for 2025. Because I know you guys are going to make us proud. And when I say us, I mean local, state, national. But when you succeed, right, the other states succeed. It's a ripple effect to every other state. When you show kindness, when you go to conference, when you hug, when you say, hey, how can I help. Do you need any information? I'll share with you. That's what I want from you guys, okay? So have a fantastic rest of the day. Have a successful 2025. Have a smooth transition, and let 2025 be your stepping stone of a legacy for your network. Okay? Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Charmaine.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day.
Great job. Great job.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.